season, how many times Jose Alvarado could pull off the Jose Alvarado. And now we're in the playoffs. Whether he could pull it off on Chris Paul, and last night, got him. Jose Alvarado is supreme. And that's exactly what New Orleans is trying to do to these playoffs. Let's go. Nets Celtics game 4 tonight. What's going on in this series? Anything? Frank Isola's been doing work. Stephen A. Smith, he's been trending for 24 hours. He's doing stand-up material. The entire thing is a nuclear waste site, in my opinion. The heat for Ben Simmons not playing surface of the sun. Heat for Kyrie Irving compounded from all season, supernova. Kevin Durant, all-time struggle for him. Steve Nash coaching, you could fire a kiln with that. In the fallout of all this is the complete disrespect, ignoring of the Boston Celtics, who are, up 3-0 in this series. But tonight we have game 4. Monica, you were there Saturday night. Around the horn to you. Is it over for these Nets tonight? Is there anything they can do to come back? And what is the major malfunction with this team?
All right, here we go, Tony. I don't think it's over for these Nets. I think that you will get one of these supernova performances that Kyrie Irving had, similar to Game 1, that almost willed this Nets squad to pulling out a W, but it will not be pretty. When you look at this team, they were one of the highest usage in terms of ISO ball throughout the entire regular season. That continues to be who they are in the playoffs, except, to your point, the Boston Celtics squad. As they say, you got the wrong ones today, baby. And so they quite honestly can't really make any more adjustments. They are who they are, and Boston's defense has been phenomenal.
All right, so to answer the questions, you don't think it's over for the Nets, but you don't think it's over for them tonight. You still believe Boston owns this matchup, and Kevin Blackstone, I'll turn to you. What has been the major malfunction for Brooklyn, or how Boston has just closed this one down?
No, I mean, I think Boston has just closed this one down, and they've exploited all of the weaknesses of the Brooklyn Nets. The ISO ball. You know what? When you can lock up Kevin Durant or make it difficult for him, and we know he's a generational scorer in this league, and that's what Tatum's been doing to him. That's incredible. Kyrie Irving is not a facilitator. The last game, KD got 11 shots. Are you kidding me? 11 shots for Kevin Durant? Get that man the ball. At least give him a shot. But you're not going to have that with Kyrie Irving. So they've got all sorts of problems. But as I said going into this series, and I like the C's all the way, it was because of their ability to play defense and because of the depth of their bench. Those two things have factored mightily in this series.
Well, let's talk about something. Kevin, you brought up Kevin Durant, but you put that on Kyrie Irving not getting Kevin Durant the ball. Monica, you didn't even bring up Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant, when guarded by Jason Tatum in this series, he can't get the ball to go down. He can't even get the ball out of his hands. He gets stripped. He's turning the ball over. He has more turnovers and field goals when Jason Tatum is guarding him one-on-one. Sarah Spain, I'll bring you in here. Is this on Kevin Durant?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The major malfunction is the only way this team was going to advance. That is everything that we all said before the series started. Who you got? Well, the Celtics, but I'm never going to count out a team with Kevin Durant. Well, you can when he has 0 makes in the second half of Game 2, when he has 0 attempts in the last 11 minutes of Game 3, when, to your point, regardless of who's guarding him, he only has 2 more field goals than turnovers in the series. This was not a good enough team to win anyway. Their only chance was Kevin Durant doing superhero things. Plenty of blame to go around, but in the micro, Kevin Durant hasn't shown up.
Kalishaw.
You know, the major malfunction was that the Celtics, that team we don't talk about, but they're going to be in the second round. We'll talk about them then. Let's talk about the Nets. The Celtics' defense was #1 this year, and the Nets just went into the series like, well, if Durant and Irving are healthy and Kyrie can play in all the games, we'll be fine. They're good enough individual players. They're great enough individual players. They'll overcome it, and they're not. Nobody is. There's no team ball with the Nets compared to what you see with Boston. And to what Sarah and you said about Tatum just kind of eating Durant alive, that's the surprise part. I do think Durant has one good shooting game in him. I think it's tonight, so they make the series last a couple more days, but that's it. And it's just a frustrating thing for Brooklyn fans to have to watch.
Evan, I'll go back to you. This isn't the first time Kevin Durant's been double and triple teamed before in his career, right? And maybe it's the first time he's run into someone who's playing like Jason Tatum is right now and doesn't have other weapons on the floor. Go ahead, please. The floor is yours.
No, Jason Tatum gets it done at both ends of the floor. We saw him block Kevin Durant's shot in his face. I'd never seen that before in the history of the NBA. That's incredible. But you talk about a blame game. Let's talk about the guy who assembled this roster, Sean Marks, the GM.
Oh.
He's the guy who put this team together. He's the guy that put this talent out there. He's the guy that traded for a guy who we can't even get on the floor. He's the guy who traded for James Harden and now has traded him away, and James Harden is advancing probably in the playoffs. That's the guy who I'm looking at more so than anyone else.
Kevin, Sarah, with all great respect for you guys, you have mentioned the blame game. I want to talk a little bit more on that because we've all played the blame game before. We've all covered teams that have disappointed and frustrated and failed. But has it ever been like this? It seems many are personally insulted by Ben Simmons, Kyrie Irving, or Blackstone in your case, Sean Marks and the team that he put together. Insulted that this team put, in some ways, players put themselves first, demonstrated a disrespect for the game and for professionalism. I know I might be putting words in people's mouths. I'm doing that to sanitize the words they are actually putting out, which at times have been very vicious, personal attacks even. Tim, has this gone too far? Is there any coming back for this for Ben Simmons or Kyrie Irving, the guys who got most of the attacks here?
I think it's gone a bit too far, but the reason I would say it has been so exacerbated compared to other blame games we've been through is you go back 3 years, and KB just alluded to it. Within 10 minutes of the start of free agency, Sean Marks had signed Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. And one, people wondered how that happened, but two, we started handing championships to Brooklyn as soon as Kevin Durant got healthy. And here we are 3 years later. They will have won one playoff series in that time. They've already been somewhat dismantled with Harden gone. We don't know what to make of Simmons and if he will play next year and what that will mean. Durant's getting older, so it feels like they assembled one of these super teams like Golden State, only they got nothing to show for it. That leaves room for a lot of blame.
Ben Simmons not being available tonight for the Nets and how the reporting and how just it all played out, whether he could play any point in the season, then any point in the series, and then it being put out there and walked back. Kevin, you've been critical of the idea. I only want to talk about guys who are playing, and I respect that. But actually how this played out for the team and for Simmons, how do you consider it?
Well, it's played out horribly for the team, and it's played out horribly for Ben Simmons because now he's going to be looked at until he plays again, until he lights up a scoreboard, which he doesn't normally do, until he plays like the player that people thought he was going to be when he came here from LSU. All the pressure's on him. He's got to redeem his
Understandable,
his
but
ability
right now,
on the court.
present tense, is it to use the word Stephen A. did today on First Take, the most pathetic, he called it, display of professionalism in sports?
I don't cast aspersions on people's mental acuity or anything else. I just look at what he's not been able to do. So I'm not going to dismiss him into some trash heap of athleticism just because of what's gone on. But I would say that it's been disappointing not seeing him be a part of this team.
Monica?
There's so much here. I didn't understand why the team even flirted with the idea of putting him out. He hasn't played all year, and now you're going to put him in arguably the most intense defense that a team has seen in this first round of the playoffs. It didn't make sense at all. I think the team should have covered for him a little bit more, but also he's got to be honest about where he is in this process, and I think he got folks' hopes up early in the game.
Sarah Spain.
Yeah, the mystery around Ben Simmons is what's allowing people to create stories, and we don't have enough information about his back, about his mental health, about his availability. We just know that they keep saying maybe, and that allows us to keep analyzing it every day, and now that he's not going to play, that's a disappointment. I just want to point out that the reason for the blame game with Kyrie is because when somebody tells you they know better than everybody else, and then everything that they claim to know better about is the result of their downfall, we're going to have an I told you so moment. When he said, we don't really need a coach, we can just have like a player-coach situation. When he says, I don't need to get vaccinated, I can be gone for half the season, and then shows up and says out loud, we just haven't gelled enough, we haven't had enough time. Why do you think that is, right? I mean, all of the things with these personalities, not all of us were handing out trophies, Tim. Some of us said, this is never going to work, and it didn't. So sorry. Sometimes when you think you know better, you don't.
We'll move on. But now to some fun, because New Orleans last night was just raucous. The Pelicans leveling the series with the overall #1 seed Phoenix Suns. It's feisty too, you know. Look at the arena right here. That shot. Herb Jones refusing Chris Paul's help to get up. Alvarado finally catching him from behind. Paul, 4 points, 0 free throw attempts, 3 turnovers for the whole game. He was wondering about free throw discrepancy in the game. It was 42-15 in favor of New Orleans. But is this about free throw discrepancy, Tim? Or is it that the Suns are in grave danger here?
I think the Suns are in real danger. I'm not sure if it's grave, but it is serious. It's 2-2. Devin Booker's not going to play. The Pelicans, we saw how they came into this series, taking out the Clippers in L.A., and they got these rookies playing like madmen. They got Brandon Ingram, speaking of Kevin Durant. He's 1 inch shorter. He has the same game, at least from 20 feet and in. He doesn't have the 26-foot shot, but he has the supremely confident jump shot, and he is killing the Suns right now. And C.J. McCollum, this is like the new lease on life for him to put on a show. So they are a real threat in the first round.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Tim. We're not digging yet, but the danger is real. And that's because you're asking a team to learn how to play without their star mid-series versus a team in the Pelicans that may not have looked as great coming in, but they've started really gelling ever since the trade deadline. And you've got a team there where one night it's Valanciunas, and then the next night it's B.I., and then C.J.'s doing his thing. That's been really fun to watch. And so I do think the Suns are in danger. It's hard when you get rid of your star and you have to make that adjustment mid-series.
Kevin Blackstone.
Well, it's especially hard when you lose a guy like Devin Booker, who, by the way, is by far the leader in free throw attempts on your team, on a team that is 4th lowest in free throw attempts in the NBA last season, playing against a team that is top 6 in free throw attempts in the league last season. So that's the tie-in between losing Devin Booker and the complaints last night about the free throw attempts.
Monica McNutt.
Well, as much as free throws were a topic of conversation, I actually thought three-point shooting for the Suns was a big deal as well. They only hit 7 threes, and that's something that they rely on. Now, the wrinkle there is that Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges, they are able to hit those threes because of the shot creation per Devin Booker. The Suns are in a little bit of hot water. I do expect them to protect home court. The sneaky part is going to be how much Alvarado continues to wear down Chris Paul.
Well, thank you. Again, hello. 4 points, 3 turnovers. If Chris Paul's giving you that in any playoff, in a half of a playoff, you're really going to be in trouble here.
He'll rebound.
Danger? Grave danger. Is there any other kind of danger? We've been horned by ourselves next. We got to talk about the pivotal Game 5 tonight, and maybe we'll talk about Grayson Allen. Back-to-back playoff wins. Do we owe Grayson Allen an apology?
Ooh.
What? Are you kidding me? An apology?
As Mavericks is level in part because of the call the NBA admitted in their 2-minute report was missed right here. Donovan Mitchell should have been called for a foul. After that was the Mitchell-Gobert alley-oop and the Dallas possession where Luka was locked up so far from the basket, and the Dinwiddie 3 was all the Mavs could hoist when a 2 would have won it. Tim, should the Mavs feel beef for the league admitting the missed call or dejection they lost to Luka comeback?
Oh, they shouldn't feel great. It's kind of a big call in the last minute, but they had 2 possessions after that. And as you said, that last possession wasn't smart. It wasn't any good. And they've got Game 5 at home tonight. That feels like the upper hand. The only thing is they didn't win any home games with Luka last year. The Clippers beat them all 3 times here. So they just got to go out and get back to work and see what they can do.
Sarah Spain.
Yeah, I think you can be peeved, and I think you can understand what a huge swing that could have been. But there were some plays afterwards, and there was still a chance to win, and they have a chance to win the rest of the series. So they need to use it as a galvanizing moment and not a self-pitying one, and just say we don't need to put ourselves in situations that are that close where it could come down to a miss.
Blackstone.
Blown calls, missed calls, they happen all the time. Nice for the NBA to give us this report to talk about. I don't think the Mavericks are in any trouble. Happy that Luka came back and performed pretty well, and I think that they'll win at home Game 5.
Monica, they lost the Luka comeback game. Does it mean anything? Are the Jazz figuring something out?
No. In fact, the Jazz were this close. In fact, we keep talking about the plays. Dwight Powell made free throws away from probably losing that game anyway if you're the Jazz. And so, no, I think the Mavs look great. They're confident. Jason Kidd has said they can't make enough 2s to beat us. They've kept them shooting below. They haven't more than 11 threes from the three-point line, so they're doing their thing.
Buy or sell two. MVP of the weekend. You ready? The security guard in Minnesota doing detective work in advance and then form tackle 2 steps onto the court. The guard's name, Pierre Frelix. Incredible work from Pierre. Fan base on the planet is what Cleveland outfielder Miles Straw called them. Sarah, buy or sell that?
I think that title is alternated between fan bases with each incident, right? We like to pin it on one place, but this happens. There are morons everywhere, and it's unfortunate. In this case, I think the shocking thing was that the Yankees couldn't even celebrate their own walk-off because while they were walking on the field to celebrate, they saw what was going on and went to go on, good for them, tell their fans to lay off. That was just embarrassing. I don't know how you think that that's how you celebrate something. You won the game. Celebrate.
Maybe.
Well, I teach a course that I designed called Sports Protest in Media that will explain to you and explains to students why it is what you saw in Minnesota happen and why it's actually somewhat important. What happened in New York, though, that's just ugly fan behavior. There's no place for that in sports, throwing stuff. Glad to see the Yankees go out there and try and calm it down. Didn't really work very well, but those people have no place in a game. Throw them out if they try to get back in.
This is such a bruise on what should have been a great outcome. I was on the train headed to the Nets game with Yankees fans who were exuberant. It was a beautiful day in New York. Like, listen, in sports, you root for your team, and even the Guardians acknowledge that. You can root for your team, cheer against us, fine. But injuries, come on, man, have a little bit of class. This stunk.
Yeah, you never want to see fans throwing things. I hate the fact that Yankees have other bleacher fans, the ones who invented the Yankee roll call back in the 90s, which is one of the coolest things in baseball, and the only team doing that. And, you know, those people kind of get brushed aside when you got all these people throwing trash and trying to throw water bottles and things at Cleveland outfield.
You anger John Sterling, Pa Yankee. You know you've done wrong.
I want to do that.
Tim Kalisha, Kevin Black is up next for today. Sarah Spain, Monica McNutt. Showdown, 2 minutes.
Tony, come on. The demonstration, there's no way you could go against Schwarber here. Like, he just gave everything that you need. So, no, Angel Hernandez is absolutely wrong.
I wasn't expecting any other answer here. Full exposure. Here we go. We'll split the point. It was just an all-time great tirade. Sometimes, you know, you have guys, he was really, it's over here. You're missing his calls over here, over there, up there, down here. Love it. We'll move on. Showdown 2, the Baker Mayfield statue. We were riding so high last week with Tom Seaver, which was a near perfect likeness in the statue. Monica, what are we doing here with Baker Mayfield?
Well, the head is very long and the eyes are very beady, and I just think this statue could have been done better. I do appreciate the moment. It was a stiff arm in a victory versus Oklahoma State, excuse me, but the statue's ugly.
Yeah, we got a stiff arm mid-game, but we got a bandana that makes it look like he has the world's highest forehead, which clearly wasn't worn mid-game. Where's the helmet? Also, Baker's probably psyched because the guy looks about 6'8" with monster shoulders. Other than that, you know, it's perfect.
Kind of looks like Warren Beatty a little bit, Paul Hornung a little bit.
T-1000.
Oh, God.
T-1000 from
Terminator.
T-1000.
Yes, that as well.
Yep.
All right. We'll decide showdown with this last topic. Grayson Allen, back-to-back playoff highs. And the Bucks are running the Bulls. Sarah, do we all owe Grayson Allen an apology?
Oh, so now we're just apologizing to people and they're allowed to be dirty players if they score a lot? Then we'd have to let Giannis get away with the purge every day. Absolutely, we deserve no apologies, and that was the worst possible way to go down was with Grayson.
Oh, man, yes, the
Brutal.
Bulls. How can you do it? Monica?
I just have this one little stat where Grayson Allen has scored 49 points, outscoring all the Bulls in the last two games.
You did it right to Spain, right in her face. This was a test. This was a test to see if Monica would go head-to-head with Sarah Spain, and she did. She gave the stat. Oh, win for McNutt.
That was dirty like Grayson.
All right, guys, in women's basketball news, last week, the number 8 recruit, according to ESPN, Aaliyah Gales, was shot tragically at a house party. She is home and is recovering. Today, USC, the school that she had committed to, announced that they will honor her scholarship, and she is still coming aboard. Shout out to Coach Lindsay Gottlieb, who points out Aaliyah's character and looks forward to helping her navigate this next chapter of her life. Way to go, all involved, and of course, wishing Aaliyah the best and most complete recovery possible.
Very well said, Monica. Thank you for that. That last showdown was like a round the horns version of the Oklahoma drill to see if McNutt would go after.